Hey, I hope you all enjoyed episode 1. Here's episode 2 of 10 Questions with.
Hi, I'm Jamie Crowley from Dunnville, Ontario, living in Hamilton, Ontario for a long, long time. And I play an artificial dissemination on the drums and also do the vocals. I think the main thing was just the rest of the music that I was hearing at the time was just so awful. And when it came along, when I first started to hear it, it just kind of immediately knew that this was exactly the kind of music I've been looking for all of my life up to that point. I could hear like a little bit, sometimes like late night radio, a little bit of music here and there. And when I was a kid, I was in like the Kiss Army. And I collected like every Cream magazine and the New York Rocker or Circus or whatever, all those rock magazines. And because they would always have Kiss on the cover, and you go through and you get the Kiss articles, cut them all out. And I had a scrapbook for Kiss because I wanted to be Ace Frehley and I wanted to be a guitar player. But I was only 10 years old and I didn't know how to play guitar. And then looking back, when I looked at these, on the back pages of the magazines, they would always have these pictures like, this is like this band, the Ramones, that cut this punk band. They're cutting their first album. They're kind of crazy, like from 1975, because I'm into Kiss like 75, 76. And there'd be like these little articles about this crazy new stuff coming out of the UK with this British punk rock stuff and the Sex Pistols and the Damned's first single. But you never heard that music, so I didn't know what it was about. But I thought, this is pretty crazy, because I always gravitated to the most aggressive, loud, crazy music that I heard at the time. So I just, from Kiss, I was just into like whatever Blue Oyster Cult and Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, whatever kind of was the heaviest, most aggressive music at the time. And I always was kind of interested, like, I want to hear what this punk rock is, because you would hear like, well, I grew up in a little town of 5,000 people, and there was like nobody there that really had heard of anything kind of weird. Like, the weirdest thing, I remember someone played me like the B-52s or something before they got really big, or you'd hear like maybe some Elvis Costello or something. But I just remember the one main thing for me was they opened up a records on wheels in Dunnville, and they had the rack out front when you used to walk in the door of a record store. This like around probably 79 or 80, and they would have the big stack of the records in front, and the guys that opened it actually kind of didn't really know, I don't think, really what they were getting. They just bought a package of a bunch of stuff off of a distributor, and so they had like the Rod Stewart, the Bob Seger, and you know, whatever. And in there they had Sex Pistols, never mind the Bollocks, and Ramones Road to Ruin was in with all the other like crap albums that I couldn't stand. And I go like, those are punk rock bands. I know they are. I wonder what it's like. So me and my friend Pete, who was my friend at the time, now he's my stepbrother, and he's also became the drummer with me in Subterfuge in the 80s, and he's in the Wet Spots, and he's in the Letdowns now. We've been friends like since we were little kids. We went in, we bought these two albums, and I remember throwing on Sex Pistols side 1, first song, hearing those boots stomp and those guitar chords come in, and I just said, holy shit, this is it. That was just like, I remember that moment like it was yesterday. Every time I think of it, I go like, that was the moment when I really heard it in my ears, in my bedroom, on my record player. I go like, this is so fucking much better than anything I've heard. And I've been listening to music since I was like a little kid. My dad was a huge music fan, and I go, this is me. This is what I want to do. So that's exactly what got me into it. Well, like I said, my dad was like really into music. side of the family was very musical. He never really played very much. He liked to sing and he'd play a little ukulele or something, but all his cousins were in bands, but they're all like in country music. So I grew up with this country music playing all the time. My dad was really into that. And so the first record he was really into Merle Haggard and the Strangers, which I kind of like now a lot more than when I was a little kid. But the one album that he had that I listened to all the time was Johnny Cash, Live from Folsom Prison. Or, let's see, Live from Folsom, no, or San Quentin. It was San Quentin, I think. But he sang the Folsom Prison Blues. Yes, he swore on it, and they beeped it out. And it was just kind of a crazy, really rebellious, different record. And I really like that. My dad also grew up in the 50s, so he's into like 50s rock and roll. And he kind of, I think, got me into hearing like Chuck Berry. He bought me a Chuck Berry double album of all his hits, like 25 greatest hits of Chuck Berry or something when I was a kid. I was just like, I was like a huge Chuck Berry fan, and I wanted to play guitar so bad and play like Chuck Berry. And I remember they would, I would always be begging my dad, like, buy me an electric guitar, and he would always give me tasks to do before I could ever earn something. And so he gave me, I think it was for my 12th birthday, he gave me a ukulele and said if I learned to play the ukulele, I could get a guitar. Or something crazy. Yeah, if you play this ukulele, then you can get an electric guitar. And it was actually his sister, my aunt, she actually bought me a guitar, I think, for my 13th birthday. So those were huge influences on me. And then I guess like after that, I just kind of went through this whole phase of just listening to like any kind of rock music I could get my hands on. And like I said, the thing that got me into punk was like hearing that first Sex Pistols album and then just like exploring every little thing I could get my hands on that was punk rock. And I think all of those different things, it was for me, I think probably this was like the late 70s, early 80s, and there was such a good range of music that was happening at that time, because I was just finding out for myself everything that happened in the 70s, like all the 70s punk rock bands. And then there's this whole new explosion of hardcore bands coming out, like the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag, and like really good, like MDC, all these great American hardcore bands, and all these other bands from the UK band like GBH and Discharge, and all this stuff is happening. And plus I'm like catching up on Generation X and Stiff Little Fingers and all these other bands, so it kind of all meshed in my head at the same time, like it's all hitting at the same time. So I think that really got me into like a really broad range of music all at once, right off the bat. And I think like musically that influenced me a lot, but also I think personally it influenced me a lot too, because it just gave me a real big open mind for all, like how much aggressive, fantastic music there was that was very different and but could be all kind of pulled together. And I wanted, my thing was with anytime, if I was going to be in a band and write music, I wanted to just like not sound like the Ramones or not sound like one particular band or get myself into like one little style of it, whatever was my favorite one. I wanted to pull something from everyone. I still want to pull with the songs that I'm doing now. Everything from like the UK Subs to Discharge to Killing Joke and Gang of Four, and all those bands I like equally amount, and I listen to as much, and I like to just like mix all that aggression and energy together. And I don't know why bands have to sound one way. I think it's pretty cool that I've always wanted to have a lot of different sounds and stuff in my music, because I think the personality of a band can come through and play a lot of different styles. And to me, that's the influence is just like this huge broad range of music and people that I've grown up with. Well, for me, like I think about the first time I like actually saw a band playing live. It was kind of interesting because like I said before, my dad was into country music and his cousins were all in bands. And he snuck me into a bar to see his cousin's band play. And they were like a country band. And I just remember being like kind of mesmerized. It was the Victoria Hotel in Dunnville. And they had the bar part that like where everybody, the drinking was, but you could walk in the store and there's a little area there where it was kind of like a restaurant where kids could come in with their parents, I guess, and have some food, but it's just an old like crappy bar in Dunnville. And my dad would kind of bring me in there and drop me off with maybe a plate of fries or something while he went in to drink with his cousins and go check out the band. And I could just kind of look through and see this band playing, and I just remember being so captured by it. I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen was like this band playing live, because I never heard live music like amplified. And it was just like they're just playing country songs and old rock and roll songs in this shitty bar in Dunnville, but like that one stuck in my head. And then the next one that stuck in my head was in Dunnville too, is they used to have this festival, the first weekend of every June. They still do it, I guess. It's called the Mudcat Festival. And my dad was actually like Mr. Mudcat. And he had a Mudcat costume. They used to have a parade, and he would like be the maestro or leader of the parade as Mr. Mudcat. And the way it used to start when I was a little kid, I'm like probably 9, maybe 8 or 9 years old, was on the Friday night they used to have a street dance, and they block off the whole downtown area. They pull up like a flatbed truck, and they had like a rock band playing like live in the middle of the street, and we just all come out, and they're playing like, I don't even know what they played, just like probably Rolling Stones, because I remember seeing this band. They had a female lead singer, and just like, it was the first rock band I ever saw. And to me, this was like the biggest thing ever. They had this huge stage, which seemed to me, and these giant speakers used to be so giant with these woofers, and they had that Rolling Stones lips and tongue thing painted coming out of each of the speakers, and they were just doing like, I don't know, they're probably doing like Bob Seger and Rolling Stones and Aerosmith or something. But I'm just like mesmerized by like these loud guitars and drums and the vocals like just being live at me. So those kind of were the first 2 live shows that really struck me. And the first concert I went to, like big time concert, was 1979, seeing Rush at Ivor Stadium. It was the first show they did there after the Pink Floyd riots, when they ripped it apart. And that was the first time I found out about pot. It was in the summertime, just going into between grade 8 and grade 9. I kind of knew about pot, and probably smoked a little bit, but it was just, remember sitting there at Ivor Stadium, just like that smell, just like wafting across. And I'm like so much younger than ever. Like there's me and a couple friends of mine that were probably still maybe at the tail end of our Kiss Army career, sitting there watching Rush do their Hemispheres thing. And it was in the afternoon, so it was really weird, because it was totally daylight out, and they were trying to do like these weird special effects that you couldn't really see. And I guess the best thing about that show was that I got my first concert t-shirt. So when I went to grade 9, day 1, I had my black Rush Hemispheres tour t-shirt with the pictures of the 3 boys on there, Rush, and white Levi's. And perfect feathered hair. So I was a hero in grade 9 after seeing my first concert. Okay, first punk show that I saw was kind of weird, because like we'd actually, as Problem Children, played like a bunch of shows that in front of people that were like not at punk shows, just kind of very surprising people. So first punk show was just like me playing, like quite a number of them. So I'd only ever heard it like from records and stuff. So the first punk show I was ever at was at Lair's Hideaway in 1982, and it was Youth in the UK subs. And it was like, I remember I was like I think I was 17, and we were filming it for a high school project that we're doing about punk rock. It was me and the guitar player in Problem Children, and Pete, who later became part of the Problem Children thing and Wet Spots and stuff, and a good friend and stepbrother. The three of us went there, and I think we got there earlier and we were filming Youth, their guitar player. We interviewed him and his girlfriend and asked them questions about punk rock, and we filmed their set and spent the night just really hiding out, trying not to get caught and kicked out of there because we were only 17 at the time. And it was really, it was actually a bit of a letdown because Youth was amazing, and nobody got up and did anything crazy for them because they were the local band and that was a thing at the time. And then UK Subs were just actually, they're good, but just it was like a little tiny bit of a letdown because it wasn't, I thought it was going to be this crazy thing, but it really wasn't. It was just kind of actually a bit of a mundane show. So sorry about my first concert. Was it was really good and really memorable, but nothing really nuts happened. We didn't even get kicked out of the bar or get drunk or anything. The favorite show's an easy one because that happened just a couple months after that. Is somehow guitar player in Problem Children. It was we're in high school, 17 years old. And he comes up to me and he goes, "I just heard on the radio last night that the Circle Jerks are playing in Grimsby at the Grimsby Tavern tonight. We gotta go see it." And they were my favorite band at the time. I guess I had all the old punk bands that really influenced me that I love, that ones that everybody knows, but at the time the new bands coming out for me that I just was hearing, my favorites was Angry Samoans and Circle Jerks. They would be my two top bands in my mind at that time that I would love to see and that I listened to the most. So, and our band, we did a lot of covers in Problem Children. We did 2 or 3 Angry Samoan songs and 2 or 3 Circle Jerk songs. So I go yeah, but no way they're playing in Grimsby. Grimsby is just slightly bigger than Dundle at the time, maybe 15,000 people. Grimsby Tavern is a shithole place, but I go well, I'd actually been there before because there's a punk band in St. Catharines called Bitter Reality at the time. And the drummer was Gary, who actually became Problem Children drummer later on too. They played there, so I go I wonder if this is actually real or not. I'm no way. I'm going to, for instance, half an hour drive from Dundee. I'm not gonna miss it, right? I come home, I go, "Mom, we need the car tonight. You can't have it." And crap, and it's I just stole the car, right? It was not so good. I used to do things drive my mom nuts when I was a kid. But anyway, I just I go well, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm gonna go to the Grimsby Tavern because if they're there, I'm not gonna miss it. So I just kind of waited for my mom to she's making dinner or whatever. I just grabbed the car keys, started up, go around. I picked up my guitar player, picked up Paul. I picked I think Barney was there, and there was this guy that was really weird because he was a reporter for the Dunnville Chronicle, and for some reason he thought that we were really an interesting story all the time, and so I guess we phoned him and asked him if he wanted to come. I think he was with us, and a few we just said we're just bringing a carload, we're going to Grimsby, Circle Jerks are supposed to play, we're not really sure, let's go see. So we get there, it's winter time. I got dressed up with I got a squeaky chair, sorry about that, but I got ripped up jeans and cut off shirt, and I leave my jacket in the car. I think it was in the winter time because it's pretty cold out, and we're all excited when we pull up. I fucking locked the keys in the car. I locked the keys in the car, but I'm going fuck, I'll just do the coat hanger thing. I don't even know what the coat hanger thing is anyway, but I locked the keys in the car. I'm just so excited. I just actually want to just go in the bar and see if we can get in, because we're all underage, and that was no problem back then, and see if the band was actually there playing. And so we get in, it's like, yeah, totally true. They just got an off night, it's like a Wednesday or something, they're doing the Golden Shower Hits tour. They got Chuck Biscuits on drums, Earl Liberty from Saccharine Trust is playing bass, and Greg Hetson's there just like hanging out. It's like, do you want to play pinball? Nobody plays pinball. Like, I was like hanging around playing pinball with Greg Hetson, and there was like a couple other bands playing that show, Zero Option, who were really good. But I going like, shit, I gotta get the keys out of the car, right? Because like, the thing that was weird is because they were serving us beer too, and I go like, if I start drinking beer, I'm not gonna get the keys out of the car. And my jacket was in the car too, like, and it was getting dark and cold out, and the night was wearing on, so everybody was in there having fun, and the band started playing, and I guess I went to the bar and I got like a coat hanger, and I'm out on Main Street, Grimsby, in front of the Grimsby Tavern, trying to like figure out how to do that. Like the old cars had the little thing that you could pull the thing, and I'm going like, I'm gonna get freaking killed. I'm this 17-year-old punk kid in this little redneck town breaking into this big car. My mom drove this like giant boat of a mom car, right? And I go, they're gonna fucking kill me because they think I'm trying to steal this, or I just look weird. Like, my hair's all like, this is 1982, and it's like a real strange scene. But like, the coolest thing is like, when you see that, like, I don't know if it's like that now, but like back then, it was like a challenge. Like, people were coming down, like these redneck guys, and it was like, oh yeah, step aside, I can do that. And it became like this big contest, like, so that, like, who could get this freaking car unlocked? And they don't even pay attention to me, this like weird punk rock guy going on, and I'm freezing, right? Like, I cut off sleeves and it's February or something, I don't know. And so finally, like, some dude got it open and everybody's high-fiving, and I got the keys back, went inside, and it was just like a super brilliant show, because there were like not many people there. Of course, it was like Wednesday night in Grimsby, and they just like played so good. They had so much fun, like, and it was just like that close up, like you were just like part of the show with the band. You weren't watching like a concert. Like, I'd always been to rock concerts before. I wasn't sitting at Iverwin Stadium like 1,000 feet away from Rush watching them trying to do a laser show in the middle of the afternoon, right? While everybody was stoned. It was like, they were right in there. Like, Earl Liberty's like, he's like a 7-foot tall dude, and he's got Greg Hetson and Keith Morris beside him there, both like about 5'6", and he's putting them up on his shoulders and walking around the floor with him. Chuck Biscuits is wasted like always. He's like, plays the whole set, throws up behind the drum set, passes out, and we're asking for an encore, and he's like, Chuck's passed out, and so Keith Morris starts a chant, up Chuck, up Chuck, up Chuck, and because he threw behind, like, and you're right there, so you feel like, oh, like that was made up for any disappointment with the UK subs. Well, this is easy because I'm not a band slut. I kind of stick to one thing for a long time. Because Problem Children started in 1982 when I was like 17 years old, and we went through a lot of band members and did a lot of stuff, and we ran out of drummers around 2000. So there's like the first 18 years of my musical career, and I did like nothing band-wise for quite some time. I was in the Resentments as a singer for 2 or 3 years, probably 2013, 2015, 16, something like that, when it was Resentments. And then right now I'm in Artificial Dissemination, and we started jamming in April of 2013, and we're going to jam in April of 2021 and hopefully play shows this year too. The one thing I want to add in there about the band history with Problem Children is that, I don't know, there was a point in there where I was in a band called Subterfuge, which was kind of a little part of Problem Children, but it's very separate too, because the other two guys that were in the band, they went on to be the Wet Spots, and they wanted to be not Problem Children, but they're very intertwined. So like Problem Children started in 1982, went for about a year or so, and some band members left and things changed around. And for the next year, it was Pete and Dave, who were the drummer and bass player for became drummer bass player for Wet Spots. And Pete's now in also Letdowns. Dave actually rejoined Problem Children like 10 years later again. So this is very incestuous Dunnville punk rock history. But for about a year there, we're known as Subterfuge, with me playing guitar and singing, Pete playing drums, Dave playing bass, and we actually recorded and released a demo and played a bunch of shows. And actually a lot of those songs that were in Subterfuge were brought from Problem Children into that band, and then the Subterfuge songs in turn, a whole bunch of them were brought to the next incarnation, third lineup of Problem Children, which was Barney and Gary and myself. And probably people might not know that the first album, The Future Where the World Is Up to Us, probably almost half that album was either written or performed or redone by Subterfuge, like before that album came out. I do one craziest one, because this is probably, I'll do like the craziest thing I did at a show. And it was probably like around 1987, and it was, I can't remember what the lineup was supposed to be. It was like, obviously, it was SNFU was the headliner, and they're just like, were like super huge at the time, and it was an American band probably that didn't make it across the border, because that's what always happened then. The American band didn't make it across the border, and Problem Children and somebody else, I can't remember, but the American band didn't make it across the border, and it was at the Bridge, or Dicko's, which is an upstairs bar in Toronto, and their air conditioning was broken. It was in the middle of summer, and it was freaking hot and sweaty and gross like you could not believe, and the place was jammed, and the person that put the show on was actually a roadie of the first Problem Children tour, and he goes like, the band didn't make it across the border, can you guys play longer? And Problem Children had been together for a long time, and we knew tons of songs, and we would just play. And they go like, yeah, but holy jeez, it's really hot, right? It was like really, it was just like, you just stood there and you were sweating, you couldn't move. And it was packed, and you're like, and I go, yeah, we'll just play, like we love to play. So we just went up, we start playing, and the place is jammed, and everybody's like really getting into it. And it was the weirdest atmosphere, I think, in a show, because I don't know if it's just like the amount of beer we were drinking a lot, because it was so hot, and you just like were pouring stuff, and it was just coming out of you as fast as it went in. And it was like everybody was like so energized to see SNFU that the place had like tons of energy. Even though it was so hot, you'd think like people would start kind of fading a bit. And so we're up there playing, and I just remember the guy that promoted the show, he's standing beside the stage going like, stretch, like he's like, we go like, we're gonna do 2 more songs, and he's like, stretch, and then I'm going like, holy fuck, and I'm like starting to take my clothes off, right, because it's getting so damn hot. Like I had my shirt off like within the first song, and I had to drop my pants. And eventually, after about an hour, like we were up there for like about an hour, and I was just like drenched in sweat, and everything, like the whole floor was just like covered with spilled beer and sweat, and everybody was like still like really into it. And they were asking us to play more songs, so I'm like, I'm playing more songs, and people, like once I got down to my underwear, people were start going like, take it off, take it all off, and I'm just going like, by now it's just like ridiculous, because I go like, like we've played for like over an hour, right? Like, shouldn't SNFU just like come on and play and like get it over with? Like the other people know this, like, because I think they were trying to let us play for a long time and hope that the American band would show up. And then they got the word that like they're not showing up. And I go like, okay, well let's get SNFU on here and finish the show. And the SNFU were like, for some reason, they're like, yeah, we don't want to play yet. It's too early, right? So like all the other bands that played, like keep playing. I'm like, okay, we'll keep playing. And then when I got down to my underwear, I'm just soaked. And people are start going like, take it all off, take it all off. And it got to be like a stripper thing. It was really weird. And I go like, yeah, you cheap bastards, like we're just the opening band. Let's see some fucking cash on the stage, right? And so we play a song and I look down and it's like, I go looking on the stage and there's like a bunch of change, right? It's like nickels and quarters and shit. Like I don't think this is in the 80s. I don't even know if there's loonies back then. There's no toonies. He goes, it's like a fucking spare change. Like I'm not that cheap, fucking show me some cash. And you play another song and I get a little more change on there. And then like, somebody play it, I see some bills, right? Somebody throws down a 20 and I'm just like, and the guy's going, stretch, stretch. And I go like, yeah, what the fuck? I guess it's already too crazy. So like, take all the gear off and gather up all the change and throw it in my guitar case. We play about 3 more songs and I'm totally nude. I'm just sweating like shit in the amps. I can hear the amp, like my amp's overheating. It's ready to shut down. I'm sweating so much, my guitar pickups are filled with like sweat and water. And I go like, we have to stop because like it's too hot, like everything's gonna fry here. So finally we stopped and then they said, well, SNFU still does not want to play yet because it's still too early. And I go, well, we have to stop and at least take a break and dry our gear out and let it try to cool down. Because now it's like later on at night, they're like kind of maybe if we stop playing, they can open up the doors and put some air in there. And I'm trying to. So finally we go like, hey, we're gonna take a break and then come back and play some more. And I couldn't believe people still wanted to hear us after all that time, because now people like after 20 minutes, they want to hear the next band. But back then, we would play for sometimes all night by ourselves and do 3 sets. Like we knew like 70 or 80 songs and we could play for like a few hours. And it was a good show, and I guess they want us back, which I thought was kind of weird. But I'm like, well, if they're not going to play, we can't just like let 300 or 400 people packed in this place just sit around because they're going to leave and go outside because it's so hot in here. So I go like, okay, well, we'll just like give us like 20 minutes to like open up the doors and let some fresh air here and dry out our shit, and hopefully our fuses will reset in my amp and cool things down a bit, and we'll get back at it. So I went out by the front stairs of the club, and like shit, I got all the money in my guitar case, but somebody stole my clothes. So I had no clothes. So I looked around on stage. I found like a pair of pants or shorts or something, and I'm just like standing by the front door, like drinking a beer, trying to like get some oxygen into my lungs, like with somebody else's pants on or something. And then this like cowboy comes up to me and he's like, wants me to take me back to his apartment for a coffee because he goes, you look you got no shirt and you got no clothes, and you come back to my place for a coffee and I can fix you up with some clothes. I saw your show and you look pretty good up there. And I said like, oh, I'd love to, but like, here's the thing, we gotta go back and play, so I can't go back to your place. So I had to like joke the cowboy. But he gave me his shirt, and I had that shirt for the days. Like it was a cowboy shirt, like with the snappy buttons on the thing and the things. Like he gave me his shirt because I didn't have a shirt, and I couldn't go back to his place. And he said he didn't catch the last part, but we did go back up there, and I found enough clothes, and we did play another 20 minutes or so, and SNFU came on and played for 15 minutes and said, it's too damn hot, come back and see us tomorrow, and did all 8 show the next day. Enjoy the most, the thing I enjoy the most is kind of like it's a 2-part thing where it's like playing live. like obviously like I like to just like get out there and play live and make the connection with the audience, and it's not like I suppose it's like a bit of an ego thing, but to me it's more of like the connection, because I think it would be like really weird to be in a huge band where I remember we did a few shows where there was like, I played a couple times where there's like a few thousand people watching the show, and it was kind of weird for me because I just really only connected with like a couple of people that were really close. And then I think it's like, it'd be like a strange thing to just like, so I don't know if there's like a bit of ego there, like doing your thing in front of everybody. Like that is ego. You need a lot of ego to be in a band, to stand up in front, like especially if you want to just like totally give yourself out, because like I give myself out when we play. Like ever since the first time I did, like I understood that the only way to like have people interested in you was you just like totally giving out, and then that makes you very vulnerable too, because if they don't like you, if they don't like the band, then that really sucks. But if they like your band, that's like a really gratifying thing. So there's a big leap to take there that I was always willing to take, because I like to make that connection, and then that leads, the best thing about music, the way I've done it through my life, is that leads to like really good connections to people, like personal connections to people, like all the people you meet at shows, promoters, people at bars, and relationships with people. Like that is the very best thing for me, because those are to me, that those are all hand in hand. You can't just be a nice guy that everybody likes and his band sucks, and you can't be like this great band that really connects to people and then just like an asshole and everybody thinks you're a dick behind your back. Like I'd rather be kind of somewhere in the middle. It's like he's a pretty nice guy and I kind of like his band or whatever. Like I'd rather just like have that like kind of combined relationship with what I do musically and what I do personally, because the music is really personal to me, and that they have to be intertwined. And the thing that I hate is money, because I think that like that fucks up everything, is the money. Because I always try to be very conscious of, in punk rock, there's like a very small economy of money, and there's a point where you can just say like, fuck, I don't care about the money, and you just blow it, and it kind of screws you up, because you do need to pay. You gotta have a place to practice, you gotta have gear, you gotta have wheels, you gotta have money to do this shit. You have to have a certain amount of money. But then you can get so consumed by that the money starts to kind of guide what you do. And there's always this like crazy dichotomy of like kind of what's fair to ask for this, and what do you need, and what is just like an access. And also there's the whole thing of, I just wish I didn't have to freaking think about this thing. It's just like hard enough to just play drums and sing, or play guitar and sing, or play bass, or whatever you do in a band, and not have to worry about the money. But if you don't, you're gonna screw yourself. And if you're really good, someone else is just gonna freaking rip you off, which is even more freaking ignorant about getting, because I don't want to get ripped off. I don't want to rip somebody else off. And just like, we live in a capitalist society, like that's based on money. So there's always that money thing going around, and like just kind of working with this dichotomy and how to handle that and how to balance that out. Even if it's just the smallest amount of money, it does make a big thing, and it fucks up bands, it fucks up people. I've been playing in bands since I was 17, and the money thing gets to be a thing over 20 fucking bucks. I've seen a band break up over 20 fucking bucks. And I hate it, because there was so much more behind there. But money fucks up people, and money fucks up punk rock and music and everything else. So I love the people, I hate the money. It's my useless talent. I wiggle my ears. It's kind of cute, but I've never figured out how to like capitalize on it. Every other talent I have, I've figured out how to get some kind of make it work for me. But like, there's wiggle your ears is kind of cute. People say, but I can't really do that. Can you wiggle your ears? Try it. Favorite food changes, but like right now for probably last year or so, I go pita pizza at Wentworth and Maine, donair, double meat, no lettuce, hot sauce. That would be my go-to favorite food. But it does change sometimes, so it might be something different next year.